Yeah, boy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have some patch notes for Outward Definitive Edition that were just released. Some of these are PC fixes and some are for console. There are also a few changes that affect both. This is very exciting to see since the game has been fun but a bit buggy since it was released. I'm not exactly sure what every one of the notes means, as some of these problems have only affected a few people. However, I will go over each of the patch notes here so you can get a feel for what it will fix. Balancing. Added a surprise somewhere. Not exactly sure what they could have added, but now we have something new to look for. Gave all Definitive Edition unique encounters, except the Trogs, a drop of any random base game unique arena relic item. So all the enemies that do not respawn in the game can now drop base game unique arena relic items. This means Pearlbird's Courage, Vendavel's Hospitality, and a few others can now drop from those cool mini-bosses, as I like to call them. There are 2 Trogs that were added, which do not drop these though. My guess is because they are extremely easy to defeat. This is kind of an odd change, but I guess it had to do with some of these items being needed in multiple recipes. Although it may mean you can get boss weapons without fighting bosses now. We'll have to wait and see how this change ends up affecting the in-game progression. Fire and poison arrows give more when dropped. Oil and fragment bombs added to drop pool, 1 to 2 potential rolls. This is a much needed change as the elemental arrows were not dropped enough to use. They could originally be found in supply caches, but only in groups of 3 or 4, which means very little unless you save them for quite some time. Apparently, the 2 bombs that could be crafted without a bomb kit will now be dropped, I'm guessing from supply caches. This makes bombs somewhat usable, and I'm pretty excited for people to finally have access to these over the entire course of the game. Fixes. Fixed an issue where Croc would stay drunk indefinitely when leaving Vendavel mid-fight. This is the first enemy in Vendavel you need to fight, and giving him Gadberry wine will make him drunk. Fixed some performance issues due to multiple lights in the compromised mana transfer station. Thank goodness for this one. My PC is pretty high-end and handles Outward pretty well, but the compromised mana transfer station destroyed even my frame rate and made it very difficult to even walk through that area sometimes. Fixed an issue where O'Leal would move to Berg too early and lead to a quest being completable before the quest began. This was likely a bug with the Holy Mission faction quest, which is now fixed. Rainbow Tartine effect now does the same thing as the Rainbow Jam. These are the very powerful Tartines in Caldera, and I was actually unaware the Jam was giving a different effect than the Tartine itself. Fixed a hyena sound that would play when a runic trap exploded. While funny, the runic trap could be very annoying to use with the sound effects all goofed up. Fixed the expiration timer for the Des rune that was longer than the others. I actually ran into this a few times. The Des rune had a massive timer. You could have it active on your character for quite some time. Runes are supposed to only be active for a few seconds. As you can imagine, this made using the Des rune much easier than it should have been. Added Inflict Cripple effect on the Wolf Weapons set description. They were already inflicting cripple, but it was not in the description. This one explains itself, but I will say this is a nice change. Casting Runic Blade while it's already out now resets the cooldown. This could be annoying again for rune users, as casting another runic sword would do nothing. It now resets the timer, which you'll want to do before a boss fight. Fixed Mana Ward that was making the character immune to impact, not just damage. Sadly, Mana Ward is not as OP as it was anymore. For a while, it made you completely immune to everything for 4 seconds, which I used to pretty much abuse the game. Now you won't be able to take damage, but if an enemy hits you, the impact will almost immediately knock you over. This is how it was supposed to work originally, because without the change, you could bully the game by spamming Mana Ward every single time you attacked and never take damage. Fixed the lever at Corsair's headquarters that wouldn't raise the water level in the slide. I actually did not realize this level raised the water level because I guess it was bugged the whole time. So now there's a way to raise the water level back up in that cave. Fixed an issue where the client would join with a Great Runic Blade active and its time limit would go to over 40,000 seconds. If you had this happen, this was obviously a pretty not intended advantage. Remove the prompt to quickslot stashed items as they need to be on a character to be quickslotted. The interactions between stashed items and on-character items have been a bit odd. Nice to see the interaction is being improved. Fixed ore samples so they do not always respawn at the same position. If I am correct, I ran into this bug constantly. It actually made the Breath of Darkness quest impossible to do, and understanding which sample rotation you were on was an absolute nightmare. This might have just fixed a lot of the issues I had with Caldera samples, to be honest. Fixed a loss of controller focus when changing tab in the crafting menu while scrolling up or down the recipe list. I know this was pretty annoying for controller users, so thankfully it is fixed. Fixed that pressing dodge and attack on the same frame would disable attacks in opening the inventory. I don't know if I ran into this, but it is pretty easy to dodge and attack at the same time, which would make this unbearable at times. Fixed the wrong music that was playing when in combat in the Slide dungeon. The Slide is a dungeon over in the desert, and it's always had quite a few issues. Music should be more accurate now though. Now possible to start a fight in the Gladiators Arena after the client left the session mid-fight. The Gladiators Arena is the building in New Sirocco which lets you fight human opponents for medals. This had some odd interactions with co-op up until now. Fixed it so defeating the Lightmender while the player's backpack is at its chair's spawn makes the backpack no longer unreachable. In other words, your unluckiness would make you lose your backpack for good, and a few people that ran into this while fighting the Lightmender were not very happy about it. Fixed an issue that made it impossible for the client to deal/receive damage when joining a started Gladiator Arena fight. Obviously, this would be pretty broken and completely ruin the fun of fighting powerful enemies over and over. Fixed characters getting stuck when using shield charge as the character falls. Never had this one happen as I don't use shields much, but luckily it won't happen anymore. Fixed an issue where arena fighters would move when being teleported into the arena before the player enters the fighting ring. This aspect of Outward is another that has always been pretty bugged. Seems like it should be more reliable now. Now we have a few changes for PS5 players. As I play on PC, this does not affect me, so I'll just read off the changes. Fixed an infinite loading screen that could be encountered with a client when the host leaves the multiplayer session. Fixed an issue where Varnish's timer would decrease too slowly in exterior scenes. Made a possible fix so New Sirocco wouldn't randomly reset anymore. Hopefully this does fix the town, as this has been an issue since Three Brothers came out. Progressions are now saved on selected accounts instead of all being stored on user 1's account when playing the split screen. An option to switch between the old new way is available in the settings menu. Xbox also got a few changes, but that patch alone, just for the Xbox, is not quite out yet at the time this video will release. Did some optimization so that it doesn't take way longer to reach the main menu when many progressions were saved. Overall, these changes are pretty fantastic. The balancing should make the game more interesting, and these fixes seem to have covered the main things I'd run into. There are obviously going to be some bugs not covered in this fix. One that comes to mind seems to be the water. Occasionally you can find spots in-game where it sounds like you're walking through a puddle. This happens almost every time you enter the Slide in certain locations and right in front of the giant asteroid rocking Caldera. That is luckily a minor inconvenience, and the changes released in this patch should make playthroughs run a bit smoother. If you're interested in reading the patch notes for yourself, I will leave a comment down below with the link so you can check it out. Consider liking this video if you found it helpful, and I will catch you in the next one.